Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. We're here with the AEW Dark review for the 25th of August 2020. Show number 48 for this particular program. They go really long, about a minute and a half short of 2 hours on this program, which is a challenge because honestly, okay, that's 4 hours of AEW a week, and I think they're overexposing. But it also speaks to a larger problem with the product, which is they signed too many people, and I'd rather have 40 roster members that I'm using weekly than 80 roster members that I'm struggling to get in. And I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't know how many contracted talent they have, but it screams that they oversigned. Anyway, we open the program with the announcers, Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Veda Scott. Please keep Veda. Veda is wonderful. She's intelligent. She is well-spoken. And she is a way to connect with the female demographic, which I think is an underutilized thing in pro wrestling. 13 matches in total. Anyway, we open with Best Friends with Orange Cassidy defeating Storm Thomas and Dimitri Jackson. So Best Friends are, in fact, feuding with the Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz. Sometimes they go by Pride and Powerful. Anyway, and this factors into the show later. And Thomas and Jackson teaming together for the first time here. Chuck Taylor in control early. Trent regains an advantage with double knees after a draping suplex. Taylor tags back in. He makes fun of Thomas. Jackson knocks him down, gets the advantage back for his team. Trent fights back with a tornado DDT, suicide dive. Why are we doing dives with no people in the crowd? Anyway, he hits a running knee on Jackson before tagging in Taylor. They do the hug spot. Trent hits a the pile driver, followed by Taylor hitting the awful waffle. They do enough good stuff in here. I'm curious about why, if you want it to appear that Dark is a place where people get opportunities, and the announcers, all of them, said this at least half a dozen times in the 2-hour broadcast. Dark is the place where new talent gets opportunities. Dark is a place where new teams form and get opportunities, etc. and so forth. How come none of the enhancement talent ever wins? You can't send a narrative that says this is a place of opportunity and then have a dozen squash matches. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, Veda Scott, again, proves her value. Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard defeats Jesse Sorensen. Sorensen, of course, broke his neck in TNA years ago, temporarily paralyzed. Glad to see he's still in wrestling. Glad to see he's getting an opportunity here. He was a good talent before, but the neck break's what he's going to be known for. Spears has been winning matches using the loaded glove. The announcers acknowledge each other as heels. The haha needs to go. Could have gotten rid of that with the masked goof Excalibur, which I hear he returns on Dynamite on Thursday, which makes me cry tears. Sorensen fights back, drop kicks and all sorts of other fun stuff. Then we see Spears to the outside, regroups with his manager, hits some strikes in the corner, hits a standing drop kicks. He lays in shots. Some of his shots are missing by a mile. Spears takes his opponent to the outside. Sorensen escapes damage here. We go back in the ring. And then we see a neck breaker. Sorensen sets up a tornado DDT. Spears fights out, hits a Death Valley driver, gets pinned. The match is nondescript. Blanchard discussed things with the referee, and post-match We use the glove. We move on to match number 3. Mel defeating Red Velvet in a ladies match. If this is what you have for ladies, then maybe they're better left off the show. Nothing wrong with them per se, but completely skippable, unnecessary, time filling, and on a show that is free, maybe except for some YouTube ad revenue. Is there really a need to have this? Huge size difference. Mel, the larger individual. Velvet comes out striking, takes Mel off her feet. Mel comes back, hits a side slam that was very well done, and uses her power. And then Velvet escapes to the top rope. Mel catches her with a choke slam. Cool squash victory for Mel, but if we're not going to do anything with Mel, then why do we care? Lance Archer with Jake Roberts defeats new guy D3. Don't understand the name. Gave the announcers the opportunity to talk about sports, and Taz saying, if I'm going to name myself D anything, it would be D1. Supposedly D3 is from Rome, Italy. Not sure how true this is. Archer comes out. He beats up some random dude on his way to the ring. He attacks D3 before the bell. D3 looks like he belongs in high school. Just really skinny, scrawny guy. They do acknowledge that he has stuntman background, so that is useful. Perhaps that means something. And Archer is continually mad. Roberts is talking into the camera most of the match, although we don't hear what he's saying much. Huge choke slam. Although back-to-back matches with choke slams, I think it loses its impact here. And he's gouging at his nose and eyes. He places D3 in the corner. D3 fights back on a guy that's 6'8", 300 pounds when you're half that size. Not sure that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. Archer decides the fun's over, hits the blackout, followed by the Everybody Dies Claw. I don't get what Archer's role is here. Week by week, he goes into squashes. That's fine, except you've already had him get beat in matches. I think Cody is who beat him. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the point is, he's already been beaten. So building him like he's unbeatable at this point is irrelevant. Speaking of irrelevant, the next match could have been completely scrapped and no one would have cared. Luther and Serpentico defeat the initiative of Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler with Leva Bates. Initiative have lost 10 straight matches as a team together. When they finally win, do we throw a party? At what point does this losing streak become pointless? Wait, it already is. Luther and Serpentico attack at the bell. Luther and Avalon end up the legal people in the ring. Luther beats down Avalon before tagging in Serpentico. Cutler continues, lands some moves. Luther hits a cutoff. I guess there's a reason behind the team of Luther and Serpentico, although we don't really know why. He keeps the heat going. Sit-out powerbomb on Serpentico nearly gets the win for the initiative, which I actually do want to see because I want to see if it changes anything for the guys. And then, Bates distracts the referee, allows Avalon to fight back, and the two are distracted. Gutbuster and a splash from Avalon. Luther breaks this up. I don't... So there's a diving meteor, a powerbomb combo, and we see a win for Luther and Serpentico. At this point, who cares? Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero defeats Kylan King. I think King has something. I don't get Rose. I haven't. I don't think I will. Vicky Guerrero is good in her role here, however. Rose is the number 1 ranked female, and that doesn't say much. I mean, they're bringing in Thunder Rosa, which from the NWA, which I think is phenomenal. I think that's good for everybody involved. But it also means that the women who are in AEW are such a drop off because Rose has already been beaten by Shida, so you don't really have solid challengers anyway. So I mean, it's Rose takes King apart. King does make a mini comeback. Rose stops it, cuts it off, hits a spine buster. King attempts a few pinning attempts, doesn't really get anywhere. Um, there is a Samoan drop for a near fall. King attempts, goes to the top rope. Guerrero pushes her off and then hits out a sit-out powerbomb for the win. Match is horrible. There's really no, again, if you're not going to have women that are, you're not going to get Bayley and Sasha and Charlotte Flair. You're not going to get top-level women without giving them 6 months to a year to build. I think there are wonderful women out there. I think women's wrestling has come really, really far. But there's also a need for a training ground for women wrestler outside of the Performance Center in WWE where they can really learn their craft. And no company that's at that level really does that. You've got your Shines, your Shimmers, and various organizations in the UK who do give women a chance to shine, but here in the States, that isn't done anywhere but the Performance Center, and I think it's beginning to show here in AEW. Billy and Austin Gunn defeating Frank Stone and Baron Black. I guess this is good for Austin Gunn to be getting whatever perceived rub is from his father. Stone and Black are teaming for the first time. There is a funny bit where Shivani is referring to wrestlers as he. Taz goes nuts about using pronouns. Guns maintain an early advantage. They're a good team. Stone cuts Austin off with a tilt-a-whirl side slam. The enhancement talents do some power moves. Gunn landed awkwardly on his shoulder on a belly-to-back suplex. And Billy gets in, gets the hot tag, runs wild, misses a famouser, and gets tripped by Stone. Stone and Austin both tag in, and not so good strikes. Austin hits a quick draw and gets the win. Then we go to another women's match, which isn't any good. Penelope Ford with Kip Sabian defeating Heather Monroe. Ford's the number 3 woman in the women's division. This is just really, really sad. Then we see Monroe, who wrestled Cheetah already. So an enhancement talent has wrestled a champion. Penelope Ford has to fight an enhancement talent who wrestled the champion. Do we see where this booking is nonsensical here? This match is not good. They are lost throughout. They attempt some lucha-style stuff. It doesn't do well. Monroe maintains control, and Ford hits some leaf blowers for a comedy spot. They distract Monroe enough for Ford to take advantage. Hits a gut buster. Ford and Sabian kiss while Ford's choking Monroe on the ropes. Monroe almost gets a victory with a cradle, and Ford fights back with a handspring elbow and a fisherman's suplex for 3. No. None of this is good. Speaking of not great, Santana and Ortiz defeating the Metro Brothers, Chris and JC. We acknowledge the feud with the Best Friends here which I guess is fine. Metro Brothers AEW debut, and Ortiz started off with the announcers providing no real acknowledgement of which brother is which on the other team, so you know that's a squash. Ortiz with a power slam tags in Santana, who hits a lariat, then hits Three Amigos suplexes. They acknowledge Eddie Guerrero for that. They've beaten down the Metro Brothers, who tries to run wild, but there's a cutoff. Santana catches his opponent in midair for a brutal powerbomb. Ortiz hits a powerbomb knee lift combo for an easy squash win. Best friends run out. They brawl all around. They fight into the parking lot. Ortiz hits Taylor with a suplex onto a trash can. And then the segment ends. Okay, so Ricky Stark and Shawn Dean. Ricky Starks is phenomenal. I think he's one of the better people to come out of the NWA. I also think he's one of the better potential stars for AEW at this point. Commentary, Taz acknowledges that he runs Team Taz. Match is more back and forth than it should have been. Dean has a lot of potential, but Starks still isn't over with the AEW crowd, so it should have been a little bit more of a squash than it was. Dean goes for slingshot spears, but Starks manages to hit a knee strike to gain control. Starks hits a standing coffin drop to make fun of Darby Allin for 1 count. And then Dean makes a comeback with a DDT and a running knee. Starks hits a Rochambeau out of nowhere for the win. This is, I mean, it was well worked. I wish Darby had done a run-in after the match. And then we see a match that, again, is a throwaway. Jake Hager defeating Marco Stunt. Stunt comes out alone without the rest of the Jurassic Express, so Stunt has no friends when he's fighting the Inner Circle. Hager offers up a headlock early, completely manhandles Stunt. This match goes about 2 minutes, if that. Stunt kicks the ropes into Hager's groin, taunts him with the floss dance. Hager throws a tantrum mid-ring. There's really nothing more to be done here, and a big boot, and Hager hits the Uranagi with the head arm choke for a squash stoppage. Jungle Boy runs out. Luchasaurus comes out. They make the save. Luchasaurus begs for his little buddy, and then Hager is flipping off his opponents here. Yeah. Then we go into the main event for the I guess perceived main event would be a better way to say it, because the main event they put in is a tag match of Hybrid 2, Jack Evans and Angelico defeating Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, which we'll get there in a minute. But I guess the wrestling main event here is Frankie Kazarian and Kip Sabian. Sabian, a guy I'm not really a fan of. I don't get him. I don't get the hype. He's decent in the ring if he's able to be carried. He's below average in the ring if he's with somebody younger who doesn't have experience. Anyway, Kazarian's 4th single match. He's 1-2. Comes in with a record of 10-5. Technical chain wrestling throughout. Sabian gets the advantage with an eye poke. Kazarian hits a beautiful drop kick here. Kazarian then gets tripped by Ford. Sabian follows up with a soccer kick on the outside. Kazarian attempts to come back. Sabian reverses into an octopus hold. There's a miss of a soccer kick. Flying forearms. Electric chair drop into a bridge for near fall. Sabian goes for a draping neck breaker, but they have not so happy feet. Sabian goes for springboard back in. Kazarian cuts him off and hits a slingshot cutter. The cutter is an overused move, I remember, and was around when it was a hot finish. Anyway, Kazarian goes up for the pinfall, forward moves. Sabian's foot to the bottom rope. Sabian goes for top rope stomp, but Kazarian moves and hits an inverted DDT for the pin. Great match. Could have used a crowd, but if you're not going to use Kazarian on a regular basis, and Kazarian's known as a tag guy in your promotion, why does he defeat Sabian? I'm not a Sabian fan, but there's more money in a guy who is less close to retirement than there is in a guy who has been around for 20 years, who usually is a tag guy. And then we go to the main event, or the last match of the program. Hybrid 2, Jack Evans and Angelico defeating Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss. Not a fan of this because Kiss is on a roll. Not a fan of this because, as much as I don't care for Joey Janela, Sonny Kiss has become at least a recognizable face in AEW, and I wish he was on Dark more often. Him getting defeated by two guys who are just coming back, who have international cachet, but don't really have cachet in the North American or at least U.S. market, doesn't make sense. Anyway, Kiss and Janela they are, I guess, an enjoyable team. They come in with a record of 7-1. Hybrid 2 take over. Evans dove Kiss face first into the buckle, which looks like a nasty spot. One of the things I like about Sonny Kiss, on top of being flamboyant and just a fun character, he sells like $1 million most of the time. The Hybrid 2 work as heels. Back handspring attempt by Evans. He hits an eye gouge, and Angelico puts Kiss into an inverted figure 4. Official gets distracted by Janela. Hybrid 2 double-teamed Kiss in the ring. And then Janela finally gets a hot tag, immediately hits a high cross body on Evans. There's a reasonably interesting spot where the partners DDT each other. Angelico breaks up a pinfall after a 450 splash attempt. Janela goes for a Death Valley driver on Angelico, but fights out and kicks him out of the ring. Evans puts Kiss into a pinning predicament via a backslide, followed by a bridge. I mean, it's fine, but again, Sonny Kiss is a character that fans could care about. Sonny Kiss is a character that's unique and there's compelling stories. H2 have not been portrayed as, worthy opponents or anything like that. It doesn't make sense. It's just that. It doesn't. They're not putting together programming that you can't miss. They're also not putting together. What's interesting is Dynamite is a show that most segments make sense. And then you come to Dark and you throw everything that doesn't feel Dynamite worthy on Dark because you feel bad and everybody gets a participation trophy. If they really want a second hour of television or a second television show on a network, they've got to trim the fat on Dark. I think there's a place for Dark as a 1 hour segment where literally it's a proving ground. It's training. It's like, for lack of a better term, Tough Enough enhanced or something. But what they're doing with Dark right now is actually making the company look worse. Anyway, that is your AEW Dark review for the 25th of August. We'll be back momentarily with Impact and then on to more of the world-class review series as well.